This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
We're holding on part 3, Baruch Hashem, and Hilchos Shmiras HaDibur, Kedushas HaPeh, words can kill, as we call it. I think we're holding by part 3. It's a word of thanks to those people that have called in and emailed in from different various places in the world, thanking me for the different shiurim, how much chizuk they get, and I have to say how much chizuk I get to hear that people are enjoying it. Those that have missed previous shiurim, must I remind them, TorahAnytime.com, go on the follow me under Wiesenfeld, and you will get all the shiurim, you'll never miss another shiur again. There's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph. The Gemara tells us over there are 4 groups of people that are not zoiche, that do not merit to have the Shechina, to have the holiness of the Rebbeinu Shalom together with them, and that is, and one of those groups, just one, are people that lie, are people that use their mouth to say lies, that don't speak the truth. The Orach HaTzadikim writes that if a person lies and a person speaks the untruth, that he's not even believed when he actually tells the truth. There's a Mishnah in Ovis, Perek Aleph Mishnah Yudches, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Oimeh, Al Shloisha Dvorim Ha'olam Kayim. There are 3 things that the world exists on, and one of them is Emes. So Emes is that thing that keeps the world kaim, it keeps the world going. And we have to realize that when we have a world of speech, when we speak to people, whether it be our friends, our chavrusas, our spouses, anyone, any business associates, we have to realize the words that come out of our mouth, as we have previously explained in previous times, have a tremendous koyach, have such a power to mekayim something. You have no idea. The Rosh Chochmah writes such a tremendous thing. Says the Rosh Chochmah in Perek Yud Beis that lying actually caused the Churban Beis Hamikdash. That if we realize, and we'll see in a moment a Gemara in Shabbos as well, similar to this, that a person's speech, when you say something that isn't 100% emes, that isn't true, it can actually cause, as the koyach, to cause the Churban Habayis of the first Beis Hamikdash and the second Beis Hamikdash. The Gemara in Tainis, Tav Chesam and Aleph, tells us that when a person speaks emes, he brings down the shefa all down to the world. V'ruach hachomim noicha imenu. You know what that means? That when a person speaks truth and the words that come out of his mouth are true, it has a tremendous koyach. Yaakov Avinu, we know, only spoke the emes, titin emes the Yaakov, and he was zoicha to 12 shvatim. The chasima, the signature of the Rebbeinu Shalom is emes. And the Orach HaTzadikim writes that if people learn to speak emes, it's going to cause Mashiach to come. On the other hand, there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, Tzadi Beis Amud Aleph. The Gemara tells us as follows: Kol hamachlif b'tibura, if somebody switches his words and says words that are not true, ki ilu oived avodah zarah, that you're actually worshipping idols. There's a serious thing we're dealing over here. Emes and Sheker. The Gemara in Shabbos, Kuf Yites Amud Beis, says the Gemara, Lo yichorber Yerushalayim ele b'shvil sheposku memena anshe emona. Why was Yerushalayim, meaning the Beis Hamikdash, destroyed? Because people that spoke the truth just ceased to exist. How many people out there that really speak the truth? The Rambam writes in Hilchos Shavuos how careful we have to be to teach our children the truth as well. Everyone knows the famous Meister Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky Zatzal walked into a cheder, and he walked into the cheder and he saw that the mezuzah on the door was very low down. And he realized, he stopped for a moment, he realized why they do that. He said they did that for a simple reason. They wanted the kids, when they walked into cheder, to be able to reach the mezuzah, to kiss the mezuzah, to mechanech them to kiss the mezuzah. So Rabbi Yaakov stopped for a moment and he smiled because he realized their intent. And he said, I'm sorry, move it to its correct place. We don't teach children the Emet, the Sheker. We have to mechanech children, as a ritva mefurish in the beginning of Masechta Sukkah that everybody knows. You don't buy a lemon and a broomstick for a child. When it comes to Sukkahs, you have to teach him the emes, you have to teach him chinuch. If you want to mechanech a child in the right way, you've got to teach him what it means, the emes. How many people, when they're at home and they can't be bothered to answer the door, they say to their children, oh yeah, tell them I'm not in right now. You think the child doesn't realize that? You think the child doesn't understand that the father is in but just can't be bothered to open the door, and he says, oh, tell them I'm not in. This is teaching a child sheker. We have to realize to mechanech our children. It has to be very, very important. In fact, I once heard from a meshkiach of Neuch Orlovik, Shlita, Gavaldige Yisoid. He said, look at the letters of emes and the letters of Sheker, where they are in the Aleph base. Look at the word Emes. Aleph, Mem, Tov. You've got the beginning, you've got the middle, and you've got the end. Why? Because when something is true, you'll find it in every place. The beginning, the middle, and the end. It's always true, it's Emes. Whereas Sheker is right at the end. Shin, Kuf, Reish. It's clumped together right at the end, because when something is false, you won't find it in every place. That's the difference in Emes and Sheker. Emes and Sheker has to be something that we realize is found always. It has to be found on our lips, on our tongues at all times. And in fact,
at the end, even though the beginning might be true.
Very, very good. Sheker only comes at the end. Very, very nice. And in fact, let's go to the Torah. The Torah said, Midvar Sheker Tircha. This is the makar of speaking Sheker in the Torah, right? You're not allowed. We do not find this in any other prohibition in the Torah. In every other prohibition it says, Lo signo, don't steal. Or it says all the halachos you're not allowed to do. Here it said, Midvar Sheker Tircha. Stay far away. This is the only issa that we find, that the Torah is telling you not only don't do it, but stay far away from it. A person has to be very, very careful to stay away. Rabbeinu Yoina in Sharit Tshuva brings down 9 madregas, 9 levels and categories of lying in the order of severity of how bad they are. This is a very serious thing. The Sefer Hasidim says that if a person speaks emes, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will listen to him in Shamayim. We always say this, if a person wants their tefillahs to be answered, be all daven for whatever it is, shidduchim and good children, parnasa, health, we need everything. And we want the Rebbeinu Shalom to listen to us. The way, says the Sefer Hasidim, is to speak emes. If the words that come out of our mouth are true, then the Rebbeinu Shalom will actually listen to us. And we know one of the 4 questions in Shamayim when we get up there after 120 years of working hard in this world is, did you work honestly in business? Were you an honest person? I actually know a person in Chutzlar who told me such an interesting thing. He said he was working for a company and they were telling him, change the dates of certain documents because insurance reasons, we can get more money back and we can change this and we can change that. And he said it bothered him tremendously to have to lie and fake things, that he left the company, which was very difficult for him. He was unemployed for approximately 6 to 8 months until he found another job, and it was very difficult. But he said he couldn't bring himself to work in a place and have his parnasa through people that are doing sheker. And therefore a person has to be realizing it's a very serious thing. In fact, Chazal tell us as well, an interesting thing, you have to know as well, when it comes to writing, we're living in a generation where everyone just writes. And people don't even think. I always tell Chosn and Kala when they're engaged, and they ask how many times should they communicate, and what should they communicate, this, that, and the other. I always tell them, do not communicate through texting, through emailing, or through WhatsApping, all these sorts of things. For the simple reason being, because when you write something, you don't think. When you write a reply back, what's the pshat? Now we're living in an instant generation. Everything has to be now, right? Text messaging takes too long, so now you have the WhatsApp thing that apparently takes less than that. I don't know. So if that's true, we haven't got time to respond, no one's got time to think anymore. So you quickly text something, quickly write something. No one's thinking before they're writing. Amal, it used to be, when you wrote something, you put the feather in the ink, slowly, you were writing something, you had time to think and ponder about what you're about to say. Now we're not interested. Who's got time for these things, right? Quickly, I have to send a response back. You have no idea, right? And I know this firsthand from people, that people can write answers back that they would never say with their own mouth. They would never say such a thing to the person in face to face. But all of a sudden, when you write something, you say whatever you want. Good things, bad things, all sorts of things can come out. So people have to know these halachas apply by writing as well. The same way you're not allowed to speak sheker, you're not allowed to write sheker. All of these sorts of things as well. Meiser as well, there's a gematria. The Ben Yoda brings down in Yuvomis the gematria of sheker. The gematria of sheker is derech shalom. Sometimes you're allowed to lie in order to make peace between people. Sometimes you're allowed to lie, very, very specific situations. I'm not going to go through all the situations, but sometimes you are allowed to make peace. I once had to do this to make peace between 2 people, right? You tell this one that he really wants to make up with you, you tell the other one who wants to do the same thing. It's a little bit of a sheker, even though be'emes they do want, the neshama wants, but it's not 100%. But sometimes for the sake of shalom, you're allowed. We know from the Posek by Avram Avinu and Sarah, with the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Rebbeinu Shalom was mishana slightly what the words were, so it shouldn't cause harm to Avram, to know that his wife called him an old man. So we see that there are makoros sometimes to say shalom. There are sometimes heterim to say sheker. Sometimes. And it's not real sheker, it's only a shinoi, for example. I remember before Pesach, somebody asked me if they're allowed to write on the box of matzahs that they're taking back to America with them, that they baked here in Eretz Yisrael, to write glass on it, glass fragile. Because if you write that on it, they'll treat it very carefully and they'll, put it into the right place and they won't smash it around. So there's no problem with doing that because you're doing it for the kavanah that you don't want them to smash it. Another example, they ask you at the airport often, this is a famous one, did you bring something for somebody else? Right now, I don't know about you, but when it comes to me, somebody recently when I was flying, the father gave me a glasses case with some glasses in it that he ordered for his son. His son went back to Chutz La'aretz. So he asked me, would you do me a favor and take the glasses case back to my son? Which I said with the greatest of pleasure, no problem, I do a chesed for another yid, why not? So when they came and they asked me, did someone give you something? So I said, oh yeah. And they're like, whoa. We never heard that one before. Like, nobody ever tells us yes. I said, sure, no problem. Here it is. I'll take it out. I'll show it to them. And thank you very, very, very much. So I have no problem telling everybody that someone took something from me. But there are poskim that do allow a person to say that no one gave you anything, because if you know that the kavanah that they're asking, if chas v'shalom someone gave you something terrible, and you know no one did, so generally you could be maker with that.
You say the truth, they harass you, so...
Okay, so that could be the same thing, if that's the kavanah. If you're in the office, for example...
I tried. I've had like some shirts for somebody who said, yeah. He was like, oh, yeah, I took some shirts. Could we see it?
Okay,
like a half hour.
Same idea. If you're in the office and you can't answer up, that you're busy right now, you can answer. You can say that I'm busy, I can't answer. Even if right now you're having a relaxing time with the coffee, you need to relax. That's okay. He used to say over that he knew about a ma'aseh with the melamed l'hoyel, that when he was lying down in the afternoon to get some koiches, so his wife told everybody that came in, I'm sorry, you can't come in, my husband is preparing sheh right now. But he was sleeping. What was the pshat? The pshat was because by sleeping, and he was getting koiches to prepare for the sheh, and therefore he was allowed to do that. So there are certain times, for example, a guy comes over to you to borrow money. You know the guy's never going to pay you back in a million years. Now normally there's a mitzvah in a Torah to lend somebody money. We know that, right? However, if you know the guy 100% is not going to pay you back, and he's just taking the money from you, you're allowed to say to him, I don't have any money for you right now. Even though you might say you do have money, and that will be okay. I have the shayla all the time. People ask me, their wife is pregnant, they don't want anyone to know. It's early stages of pregnancy. Are they allowed to say, when people say, hey, are you pregnant? Which is a terrible question. I do not know why people ask these things. But there are people out there that do ask these things. Women discuss within each other. I don't know. They're sitting in the bar. Hey, are you pregnant? Right? So she doesn't want anyone to know. She hasn't told her parents yet. So often I'll ask, are you allowed to lie? The answer is yes, you are allowed to lie. There is a te'elis in that. You don't want people to know. There's a din of tznius. Without going into too many details, there definitely is sometimes a terim for a person to do that over there as well. Sometimes to stop someone from doing an issa. There's also a heta, for example. I once discussed with Agoin Rabbi Zolobach Shlita, the Bochum sometimes call up Erev Shabbos and Rebbe, when is Shabbos? Right? We want to know, for some reason, the Bochum have to know the last moment to have that shower, right? Because right before Shkia, you have to, what I'm talking? Right before Shkia, you have the shower, you know what I mean? Come out the shower as Shkia, as Mincha's happening. So they asked me, when is Shabbos? So I asked once Agoin Rabbi Zolobach, he said to me, you're allowed to lie and make it earlier. Right, it's no problem. Obviously, once they found out you've done that, they're never going to ask you again. Beseder. But at least to know that to be mafish someone from an issa, there is definitely a heta to do that over there. Especially, I remember like this. I had a guy from the army. It was a bacher that I taught. He was in the army, and he asked me one time whether or not his roommates sometimes, unfortunately, bring in stuff that isn't 100% kosher, and he doesn't want to embarrass them and make a whole scene out of it, right? So they asked him, they made some peanut butter cakes. I remember him calling me once, right? Peanut butter cakes, they made these peanut butter biscuits, cakes, I don't know whatever it was, and he wanted to ask if he's allowed to lie and say I'm allergic to them, because obviously he doesn't know the Kashrus, doesn't trust these people, doesn't know where it came from. So I told him, yes, you're allowed to lie without a problem. He called me back after and said, I had a major problem. I told him I'm allergic to peanut butter. They said, but 1 second, 2 days ago we had peanut butter sandwiches, so how could you say such a thing? So sometimes you have to realize you're always going to get caught out in the end. Be careful. But there are certain attempts. For shidduchim, for example, right? A common shaila. A guy called me from, I think it was Australia, that he wanted to know he's a certain age, and he's a little bit older, and he wanted to know if he can make a little bit of a lie sometimes for the age to try and get the shidduch at least to start off, and then obviously I'll tell them all the truth afterwards. So again, there are certain heterim in these situations, depending on what it is, and everyone should ask that local Orthodox rabbi when these come things. But the point I'm trying to make over here is, we have to realize that Emet and Sheker comes out of our mouth as a tremendous koyach. As we mentioned in the beginning, a person has to realize the words that we say have so much koyach, such tremendous power, that we have to take that to example. For example, one of the Hasidic yeshivas was so makbid on Emet and Sheker that when, if it was raining outside, and one of the bochum came in, and someone would say, hey, is it raining outside? They wouldn't say yes. they would say, a minute ago when I was outside it was raining. I don't know now. They didn't want a word to come out that was sheker. I'll tell you a modika maisa. They came to Rabbi Cutler, Shiva of Lakewood Yeshiva. And it was years in the beginning. And they wanted to make, I think, one of the first dinners at the yeshiva. And they came to Rabbi with a picture that they were going to give out to all the big hashkafa donors and sponsors, these rich fellows that were coming to the dinner. They were going to give out this beautiful brochure of the yeshiva. And they had drawn the most beautiful artist version of the yeshiva building. Right at the front of the brochure, gorgeous. And they came to Rabbi just to show him, look what we've done for the dinner, how much work we've spent on it, money, whatever. It's going to look beautiful. Guys are going to give money. It's going to be amazing. Rabbi looks at it and he tears it up. They said, Rebbe, what's the matter? What's the problem? He said, there's an extra tree there. We have one tree in front of the yeshiva. We don't have two trees. Now, we would think, oh, come on. One tree? What's the difference? One tree, two trees, it makes such a difference. Oh, no. The Gedolim understood that every word that comes out of their mouth is Kodesh HaKadoshim. And like we mentioned so many times, the Chofetz Chaim tells us that the words that come out of our mouth, we have a beautiful instrument that we're playing over here. And if we learn to use the instrument properly, it plays the most beautiful music. And if we learn to use it in the wrong way, the music doesn't come out so nicely. So when we ask what we're asking for, it's not going to come out so good. Right? They say that Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky was until the Sof Yomov was upset with one of his third grade rebbes, whatever it was, when he came late once to Cheder. So he came late for whatever reason. It was a very good reason. And he walked in and his rebbe said to him, tell me, why are you late? So he said, the entrance was closed, I had to go around, whatever, it took a whole thing. So the rebbe slapped him and said, please don't lie next time. And he said for the rest of his life he was upset with his third grade Rebbe because his Rebbe didn't understand he was dealing with someone that had never said a sheker in his entire life. In fact, there were so many stories with Rabbi Yaakov. He didn't eat gebrochs. Why? Because one time he was at somebody's house and it was Pesach and he didn't want to upset them and insult them. And they said, Rebbe, can we serve you something? He said, I'm sorry, I can't eat that. I don't eat gebrochs on Pesach, so I can't eat that. Not wanting to upset them that he wouldn't trust the Hersha. The moment he uttered those words, he would never eat gebrochs again. It came out of my mouth. It has to be emes. Rabbi said we have to take a musaf of this, right? We're learning over here, Kedushas Hadibur. We're learning what it means that every word that comes out of our mouth has to be emes, especially when dealing with our children. To mechanech our children the right way. We want our children to go the right way. We wonder afterwards, chas v'sholom, in years' time, what happened. We have to realize they look at what we say, they treat us as gedolei olam. Our children look up to us as mummy and tati. And if they see, and they do see, that the parents are changing things when it's convenient for them. So then all of a sudden when it's convenient for them, they'll do the same thing to you and you'll wonder what happened. Rabbi said we should be zoicha, as we know, by learning these halachos, we're going to get extra siyata d'shmaya to know, to learn, to keep, and to do. And Be'ez Hashem, Rabbi said next week, we're going to do the halachos of Shmiras Haloshin. Join us on Sunday. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.